Do you know I purpose every single time? I always point this way and it's always wrong.
It's always wrong for me too. That's why I've just started doing like, it's one of these ways. Oh man, that was a YouTube only joke. What is up, all you great thinkers out there? This is the MTG Thoughtcast, your favorite Commander show hosted by these two brothers here. My name is Joseph Rubino. I'm one of your hosts. Across the screen and across your ears is my good friend and my brother, John Kendall. John, how are you today, buddy?
You get to figure out which order the priority is. Hello.
That's right. Yeah. Which one of us is older? That's the comment down below. Go ahead. Question of the day is, which brother do you think is older? The mustaches might be deceiving. This is a tough question. You doing good, John? You ready to talk about some brackets once more?
Ooh, we're back to the brackets. Yeah, we're back
in
the
brack.
Back in brack.
Perfect. Well, yes, we're talking about brackets again today, and something that I think I haven't seen a lot of other people talk about, which I think is way more exciting than people are giving it credit for, which is bracket 1, the tiniest little lowest power bracket, which I think is hiding some super underrated decks and strategies inside of it. John, are you excited to talk about this or what?
Oh, you know you don't have to convince me on if jank decks or fun themes is going to be in my style. Of course, we're the place for jank themes and terrible kindred tribal theming. Roller coasters. I get to talk about my roller coasters today.
Yes, John's talking about his roller coaster deck. I'm talking about a modular bear deck. That's all ahead on today's episode. Before we dive in, just a brief moment of your time, if you'd be so inclined. All of those buttons down below this video mean a lot to us and mean a lot to the algorithm. If you want to give us likes, comments, and shares, huge shout out to those of you who are already doing that on every episode. We see you guys. Those are really big free ways to support the channel. We'll talk about it a bit later as well, but we also have a Discord that we would love for you to be a part of. Again, more on that later. That's all we're doing today for upkeep. I think we should get straight into the episode, John. So today, like I said, we're talking about bracket 1, which I'm going to give us a brief overview of the brackets. There's obviously been a ton of bracket discussion online. There's been a plethora of bracket videos, but I'm excited to talk about bracket 1, which is our exhibition bracket. Now, I'm using the Commander Brackets beta graphic that Rachel Weeks of the Command Zone has put out. Also, Rachel Weeks of the Rules Committee. Previously, the Rules... What are they called now? It's not the CAG anymore.
It's the... Oh, man, I knew this.
She's on the committee that Wizards talks to about Commander.
The Commander Play Group, I think?
That seems right. That seems correct. We're going to go with that. So, Bracket 1, they're calling Exhibition, which she...
Gavin's Funhouse.
Gavin's Funhouse, exactly. Love you, Gavin. Exhibition, the quote that is under it is, I want to show off a casual themed deck. So the deck prioritizes theme over function. So this is a very important part of this, is you're not playing Ristic Studies. You're not playing Game Changers because those aren't on theme with your deck. You have an actual reason to not play these things. They often have a goal outside of winning, anything from showcasing an under-supported mechanic to a favorite artist. We're going to be focusing on talking about interesting mechanical decks rather than themed decks. Although I know a lot of people personally who are like, man, I love this art. Even just today on our Discord, more on that later, on our Discord, somebody was talking about how they wanted to play a Bumbleflower deck but didn't like the art of a lot of the cards that would go into it. If you just want to build like a deck with your favorite artist, or it's all of the... Do you remember on Reddit a while ago, people were talking about the women facing left deck?
That's still floating around, yeah.
Where there's just so many pieces.
Chairs, T-pose, tribal, you know, absolutely, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Stuff like that is all in exhibition because to break down sort of the etymology of that, it's an exhibit. Like you're exhibiting something cool in the deck. So the sort of qualifiers for bracket 1 There's no game changers, there's no mass land denial, there's no extra turns, and there's no 2-card combos. And very few tutors, they recommend like on-theme tutors. Once again, talking about brackets, the thing that always comes up is that these are just guidelines for conversation. Obviously, everyone's deck is going to be built differently. There's going to be some times where the theming is like, well, this kind of dictates that I should be playing an enlightened tutor in this because the art in it is a woman facing left, that kind of thing. That's like, just talk with your play group about it and find a nice middle ground for all of that. But that's sort of the what of bracket one. John, why would you play this? Why would you choose to play this over something like bracket 4, where you can just play all of your most powerful cards?
Well, probably out the gate, the like most immediate obvious answer is, well, why would you want to throw yourself together a pile of janky cards that may not necessarily win you the game, but have some neat synergy together when all played together? Well, obviously just for the fun of it,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
This is the underlying thing with Magic as an entirety, no matter what format you're talking about. It is a game. You are supposed to have fun playing it.
Yes, 100%. This is the bracket that's dedicated to fun. I was thinking today about the history of Commander and how it relates to the brackets. And when the original play group put together, the creators, when they put together Commander as a format, it was meant to be like a fun thing to do in between playing your competitive games at standard or at modern or type 1 or what type 2, whatever it was back then. So
Extended.
exactly, yeah, your extended deck, your Kamigawa block deck. You would just like throw some Commander down in between, and it was meant to be this like fun. It was made for the theme of it. Like you had to pick an Elder Dragon, and it had to be themed or colored around that Elder Dragon. So to me, if we're talking like historically, bracket 1 is probably the intention of Commander, and all of these power brackets get built on top of this. So rather than seeing them as like separate brackets, I like looking at it as like this is the foundational bracket, even though core 2 is kind of, or bracket 2, the core decks are kind of the current foundation. If we go back to like what is the fun of Commander about, it's bracket 1. It's doing your weird things that don't work in any other formats. Now, part of this is because you're not playing any game changers, tutors, combos, and stuff like that. The game is going to go a lot longer. It is intended to be a longer running format, which is part of how strategies work. If you're planning on playing this janky 3-card combo that's like, I got to get my engine set up and I got to do this thing, and I'm playing this because there's a cat in it and all of this, none of that's going to work if you're playing against somebody who's playing Ristic Study. That is just like baseline. It's not going to work. So having access to a longer game and a deeper strategy shines in bracket 1. So what excites me about it is being able to go like, oh, we can do weird things in this format.
Yeah. Another point that would be worth considering when wanting to decide if you want to, not exclusively, but like if you've got yourself a community of group that wants to do bracket 1 decks, another consideration point of that is going to be the budget behind it, because
100%.
like these things are kind of going to go hand in hand, where like the higher up in the bracket scales that you go, the more sort of like investment on cards that you are going to need to do. Like obviously certain game changer cards are quite expensive, and then even when you start talking about into making something at like a core, if you're not just buying a precon as is, and even buying a precon as is, we've seen precon decks going for $60, $80, $90. That's just sometimes not a thing people have. But people have draft chaff. People have stores that sell, 5 for $1 bulk rares. So,
Oh yeah, this is the bulk rare bracket for sure.
bracket 1 is for your budget friendly.
Absolutely.
If you're a brand new player that you've just picked yourself up a new starter kit collection, or you've been offhanded somebody's old collection of bulk rares and commons and foils and whatever, they may not have a home in core or optimized or anything like that, but exhibition bracket 1, that's where these get to have their fun little time back in the sun again.
Absolutely. I would say too, to kind of wrap up why you would play a bracket 1 deck. You and I are content creators. That's if you're watching this, it's because we created this content. And we do some gameplay. We do the Thought Clash live. And bracket one allows you to showcase, like, being a content creator means being an exhibitionist. We're exhibiting our content. And pairing that with an exhibition bracket is going to lead to more interesting content. So if you are listening to this and you want to start getting into creating content and making gameplay videos, I would recommend just film a game where you're all playing bracket one. There's going to be cool things that happen there. And it's a different type of cool than like let's say the spike feeders who play CEDH mostly. Like, that is incredibly cool, and that's their thing, and that's awesome because watching CEDH is incredible. Now, granted, I don't really play CEDH, and I don't really care about watching a ton of CEDH. I still watch their content because shout out spike feeders, but it's not something that I'm not going like, oh my God, I'm going to build that deck. But when I watch someone play, like when I watch Ben Brode sit down on Commander at home and he's playing his like all beta deck, I'm like, that is fire. That is so sick. And that, my friends, is bracket one. And that's what we're here for. So, John, you and I both have an example in our arsenals of a bracket one deck. And I would like you to tell me about yours first.
Oh, you're gonna pin me to go first always.
Mine's just too weird, dude. You gotta ease people in before you get to the Wilson deck.
Well, it's not like yours is any less weird. It's like, oh, do I need to build an exhibition deck? How about I build 5?
Absolutely. I'm gonna get it ready while you're talking about this.
Alrighty, so for my exhibition style deck that I want to showcase as sort of a guidepost as to like what we mean here by like, this is a level to play for fun, for casual, for budget reasons. You want to show off an incredibly fun theme that is either like niche or narrow, or you're just not seeing prominently. Or especially along the lines of like, this will be a style that Wizards themselves would likely never do in a pre-constructed thing in of itself. That's a real fun way to determine if your deck is in a bracket one. Would Wizards themselves ever make a deck around this theme either? And judging of over this past, like, how long has it been now? About 2-ish years or so, how much they just absolutely want to shun Unfinity as if it never existed. We're never gonna see attractions again printed in paper, and that is such a shame.
Yes, dude.
That's such a shame. And it's too bad because Myra the Magnificent is clearly my go-to choice. Now, for caveat reasons of this here, some older viewers of us may actually know I've done a deck tech of this deck before onto our channel. That version of the deck does include cards in it that makes it disqualify technically for the bracket one thing, like some extra turn pieces. So what we're talking about right now on what the examples I'm going to be given, this is going to be taking the deck as is, but basically removing those. It's essentially those extra turn spells. I think maybe the only other thing that popped up in my research for it was like, I could probably pull out Solve the Equation, just because that kind of is sometimes viewed as a little bit of a stronger tutor, but it does only get instants and sorceries. So if that'd be one of those things that, like,
yeah, I mean,
bring it up ahead of time.
Even referring back to the graphic, it says few tutors. Like,
yeah,
tutoring is just part of the game. You can't just exclude tutoring in its entirety. But, like, you're not playing, like, personal tutor. You're not playing the good blue tutors. You're playing, like, a 3-mana, go and find this specific thing tutor. And I think that's fine.
Yes,
I'd be fine with that.
And I think specifically as far as, like, searching the library, I think that's the only one. I think. Don't hold me to that, but...
Oh, I'm holding you to that.
But let's circle back to Myra then herself then real quick though. Myra is a red-blue commander, and what she wants to do is that once she is down in play, as you cast instants and sorcery spells, you open up attractions. An attraction deck would be something that you have off to the side of the deck that you already have pre-shuffled or whatever before the game begins. For eternal play, like Commander, if you were playing this like officially or whatever, there are 22 attractions that they made that you can play in the, like, your attraction deck. if you are bringing an attraction deck, that thing has to be a minimum of 10 uniquely named. I have just all 22 of them just because it's nice to have a volume. And Myra specifically can churn through these incredibly fast. Like, I know I've been in games before where I had like 12 plus of them down in play.
And let me just say, I've played against this deck a lot. Attractions are broken. The fact that they are just artifact permanents on the battlefield is broken.
Yeah, we don't need to get too much into the nitty-gritty specific on what the attractions themselves, like each individual one does.
Yeah,
but
they just don't matter.
Yeah, ultimately the way Myra reads is it like this is a themed way to do Spell Slinger. As you cast your instants and sorceries, you open up attractions that puts artifacts down in play for you to use for an assortment of reasons, right? My favorite interaction piece that I have in that deck uses another legendary creature I feature in that deck, Galazeth Prismari.
Yep.
This
is what I mean. It's stupid.
This is a legendary dragon that allows your artifacts to tap for red or blue, usable only for instants and sorceries. When the attractions are down in play, they are on your battlefield as permanents, ready to use for anything. Think also along the lines of like inspiring statuary, which is not in the deck, but like it would fit the theme
why is that
very
not
well.
in the deck?
I just don't own one.
Oh, you should get one. That'd be stupid in there, dude.
I probably should, yeah. The other half then of what this deck is looking to do is the reason Myra opens up these attractions to begin with is that her own ability pulls instants and sorceries from the graveyard and essentially makes your attractions gain imprint. It's that Mirrodin ability. You link an instant or sorcery to an attraction, and then if that attraction fires, you not only do the thing that the attraction wants to do, but you also get to cast a copy of the imprinted instant or sorcery. And that's really dope. Because, like, you basically can have an opportunity at your upkeep to be spell slinging a variety of stuff. Especially if you hit 6 on the attractions, you've got
three, hit all of them.
Yeah, you've got like 3-4 spells imprinted down onto your attractions, and then you roll a 6. Bam, 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 storm, 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 storm.
So good. It's so cool.
It's crazy cool. There's a real fun synergy. I've never really been able to work quite yet in that deck, but I have a card in there. I believe I'm gonna forget because it's Lord of the Rings. It's a blue legendary. It pulls a counter off of stuff. Is it Marigold?
Gold River Gold. Yes.
Something like that. This one on screen right here. There you go.
Counter off of it so that you can add extra spells onto each attraction.
Correct, yes, because Myra puts a midway counter onto the attraction so that you can't start stacking stuff onto a single thing. But if you get that counter off, and this exemplifies what this bracket thing is trying to do, right? Like, look at all these individual fun little synergy pieces that are not by themselves gonna win you the game, but when you start compounding all of them together, it's like, oh, I've got Gutter Snipe is down, and then Myra comes down, and then Serum Visions, Faithless Looting, Attraction. Third Path Iconoclast is also making a dude every single time I do one of these, and then you go to the next turn, roll a dice. Oh, I hit a 4. I get to recast Ponder. I get to recast. You know what I mean?
Totally. And like again, the reason why the deck exists, because it's just worse than any other blue-red Spellslinger list.
Like, right, exactly. You tell somebody, hey,
roller coaster themes.
somebody asks, hey, can I build a strong blue-red Spellslinger deck? Sure, you can play Veyren, you can play Stella Lee, you could play the red-blue.
You can play any of the Niv Mizzets.
Niv Mizzet, the experience counter one. Mizzix.
Oh, Mizzix.
Is that it? Yes, that one.
Mizzix.
So like,
yeah, these are all like I keep calling them tiers. Bracket 2 plus commanders. And then there's a bracket 1 version of the deck that's like, do you want to ride roller coasters while you're casting your spells?
Whee!
Because sometimes you hit a 1 and like that's down the hill, brother.
That's it. Yep, nothing happens on a 1. Exactly. It's so cool because you get to play this like shared mesh theme of like artifact synergy and spell slinger and storm and also card draw, but then you're also just doing dumb artifact attraction-y stuff. And it is the sort of like, we're looking to have a good time commander deck I'll bring along to places if I'm like if I'm playing with somebody new, or we're doing a new group together on spell table or something
Definitely.
like that. Myra is absolutely my
Just
bucket
pop
one
Myra right
choice.
there.
Yep, my
I
popcorn
love it.
bucket one.
But this is the popcorn bucket. This is popcorn bracket. I'm gonna start calling
Popcorn
it
bracket.
that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll tell
Plus
you about
100
my
chips.
I'll tell you about my bracket one deck. I've mentioned it. First of all, I have to talk about the Cowtails Cup. I can't pass that up. We have to stop for a second and take it. John, for those listening on Spotify, shout out Spotify listeners. John is drinking from the biggest mug I've ever seen, and it's a cowtail mug. If you don't know what a cowtail mug is,
It has
just
a
don't look
tail
it
on
up.
it.
Why did cowtails taste cold? What? Do you?
It's the cream. It's that cream center, bro. I'm telling
Wild.
you.
All right. Your bracket one deck takes advantage of having a fun theme for the deck. Mine takes advantage of abusing how a commander deck is built. And I'll show the YouTube viewers. I recommend go to YouTube, pull this up real quick. If not, I'll describe it for Spotify. So this is the deck box. This is one deck, just so you know. So what this is, for those listening at home, this is a 6 divided deck box that has, it's divided into 6, and it has 6 50-card halves, with a main half that is helmed by Wilson Refined Grizzly, of course, because good bear. And it's a green deck. It's a 50-card green deck half. That's just full of staples that you'd want to see every game, no matter what. We're talking Llanowar Elves, Wild Growth. One of my favorites in the main half is Genesis Storm, because Wilson plays with backgrounds. So you cast 2 commanders, you cast him a 3rd time. All of a sudden, you've got Commander Storm 4. So it's just this sweet green staples deck. And then each of the other pockets in the box is another 50-card half for each of the 5 colors in Magic. So there's a white, a blue, a black, a red, and a green half, so that you can either choose or randomly decide what the color pair or monocolor for Wilson is going to be. And each of those halves have a different theme. So I'll walk through them pretty briefly. So if you want to play the red deck, you are playing Wilson Refined Grizzly Tavern Brawler. Wilson, for those who don't know, is just a 1 and a green. It's a 2/2. It's a bear warrior. He can't be countered. He's vigilance, reach, trample, ward 2, and choose a background. So he's just keyword soup, the commander, which makes him both on theme for the story of Wilson, which, if you don't know that, it's a very famous Reddit story about D&D, where there's a bear who's taken on all of these different backgrounds and is convincing the people. It's Octodad. It actually was the inspiration for Octodad. So he's just keyword soup and works with a lot of strategies. Spoiler alert, they're all kind of Voltron decks. But so the red deck, Tavern Brawler, the background for that half is commander creatures you own have at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. This creature gets XO, so X power, where X is the converted mana cost of the card that flips, and then you get to cast that card this turn. So it's impulse draw, add power. It's very good. So this is just a big mana deck, and it's playing things like Nissa Ascended Animist and Blasphemous Act, all these huge cards that you can cast a lot cheaper, so that you hopefully flip them, and he gets like plus 14 or plus 9 or whatever from these huge cards, and then hopefully finding a way to cast them early. So there's like mana doublers in that half. The whole point is it's a big mana deck, which again is trying to win through Voltroning Wilson to be huge. That's the red half. I don't know why I started there. I should have gone in Wooburg order. We're just going to keep going with this. So the white half of the deck is Noble Heritage, which is 1 and a white for the background that it says, commander creatures you own have, when this creature enters the battlefield and at the beginning of your upkeep, each player may put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature they control. For each opponent who does, you gain protection from them until your next turn. So it 1 rings for each player at the table who decides to put the +1/+1 counters on their creature. So it's a little politics, but it's really a green-white +1/+1 counters deck. I don't need to go into what's in that deck. It's exactly what you think it is. It's green-white +1/+1 counters. Oh, we'll end on the mono green half because it's my favorite. So the blue half is probably my favorite one to play. It's the Sword Coast Sailor. So we have Wilson Sword Coast Sailor. It's 1 and a blue for a background that says that when commander creatures you own have, whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than them, the creature can't be blocked. So this is a green-blue straight-up Voltron deck. It's equipment, it's auras, which are both really good because Wilson naturally has Ward 2. So you can put your Curiosities, you can put your Rancors, you can put all of your swords onto it. You can do all of these like big... This is probably the most powerful, technically, of the halves. The ceiling is quite low for how powerful this deck is, which is why again, when we're talking about bracket 1, like why would you play this, is like I can't play this at any other table because I get wiped. But I want to like roll a dice and see what half is. Yeah, the Sword Coast Sailor deck is probably my favorite half of it.
So it's like a joke of like starting up a new campaign is like, oh, you've got your character. What kind of background are they playing this game?
This is Wilson's character sheet. This
exactly.
whole box here is just Wilson's character sheet. So the black half of the deck is Agent of the Iron Throne, which gives your commander basically when a creature or an artifact you control hits the graveyard, it domes the table for 1. Yeah, you don't gain life off of it. So it's just aristocrats. It's bear aristocrats. But specifically with artifacts, you have like threefold Thunder Hulk in the deck that like makes a bunch of artifact golems or gnomes. It makes gnomes. Does stuff like, so there's a reanimator in the deck. You're killing stuff. It's very fun. I love aristocrats decks. And then the final one is the mono green half of the deck. So it's another green half of the deck. And as I was sitting and thinking about what do I do with this, I don't want this to just be like mono green good stuff. What I came up with was this. It is a mono green food deck that is centered around sacrificing those food to fight things. So there's like Ace from the Doctor Who set that like when she attacks, you sacrifice an artifact and she fights something. There's a handful of other things like that. And of course, we had to pick Master Chef as the background for that. So this is Wilson's food fight is the mono green half because I wanted it to be so different. And again, like I treasure this deck and I never get to play it. It is like one of my favorite pieces of Commander that I own. And now with the kind of onset of bracket conversations, I can go, who wants to play bracket 1? I would like to play Wilson in this pod. So that's my bracket 1 deck.
It's very neat. It's super cool. Like you've ran multiple of those. I don't think I've actually played against the red one, but I think I've played against every other one of those.
Probably.
2 color ones that we've done before. Yeah, in the similar kind of vein. Like they're all fun. And like Wilson's kind of a scary commander if he gets really, really big, you know? Yeah. Right?
He's just a sneaky Voltron deck, which again, like the white deck, you can put counters on him. The red deck naturally bumps him. The blue deck, you put auras and equipments on him. So it's kind of playing in this space of like, it's like a love letter to green Voltron as a theme and being able to go from there. What I am really proud of, before we move on from talking about Wilson, is the logistics of how to combine the decks and separate them because there are more green cards in. What it did is I double sleeved the entire deck. So there is, what is that? 300 double sleeved cards. And on the main Wilson 50, I just put a little gold dot, like a silver Sharpie or a gold Sharpie dot in the corner of the main 50 so that when you shuffle it together, you can quickly file through like, oh, this is the main 50 because it has a gold dot and this one is the half that I'm playing because it doesn't have a gold dot. And at the end, you should have 2 50 card piles. I've also done the math so that it's 38 lands for every single half. So it's just, what's that? 38 divided by 2 is 16? 16, that's not true at all. Don't let me off like that. That's 19 lands a piece. Because do not listen to my math. I was going to be an accountant and there's a reason that I didn't. Yeah, so I'm really proud of the logistics that I put into this. It sucks to have 300 double sleeved cards as one commander deck, but man, is it fun to play.
And it's such a very cool idea. It's like it's on theme, not only of like for bracket one of just like, hey, here's some real like underpowered styles of themes, right? Because like backgrounds can be quite cool when paired against with specific commanders, but funny enough, it's like paired with the cards who want to be playing them as backgrounds, none of them are seeing real much play, all
For
things
sure.
considered. It's like when you've got backgrounds paired with other powerful commanders in the 99 whatever. So a Wilson and a background themed deck is already sort of like a kind of niche in and of itself.
Oh,
But
definitely.
but just like the theme idea of like, hey, this is my D&D character sheet thing of like,
Yes.
here's your character, and pick what
Yes.
theme he
I'll
is
tell
in the
you,
background this time.
I always think about swapping them out. I really wish they would give us some more backgrounds. I hope we do another D&D set. I hope they give us some more backgrounds because it's one of my favorite things. But I really want to swap the white half out to be Folk Hero and just play a green-white bears deck. Just with like Ayula, you get the one that turns everything into 2/2 bears. The more recent bears. It's just seems so sick. Of like Wilson, Folk Hero, bears deck. Stupid. If you guys listening at home, talking to the listeners now, if you guys want to see John's deck tech of that, it'll be John's deck tech of his Myra deck. It'll be linked, or Myra. It'll be linked down below. If you want me to try and film some type of video for this, let me know in the comments, please. I've not had the wherewithal of like, how do I make a video about this? But with the onslaught of a bracket conversation, it sort of brought it more to the forefront of my brain as like, I should really crank out this like tier 1 bracket 1 deck. We mentioned a couple of times that we have a Discord page that you can join. That's also linked down below. While you're there, you can check out our entire bracket 1 discussion thread in our brewery section of our Discord, where a few people have submitted some ideas for things that they think would be cool in bracket 1. So John, take us away talking about Punish on our Discord, and this Calamity Galloping Inferno deck.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have anything like in specific listed here or whatever, but their idea that they wanted to do for a sort of on theme, like I guess at its core, we're talking mono red, not blink per se,
Blink?
but like mono red, but like strictly mono red cards that have enter the battlefield triggers, and like cheap cards to get down as well. So this is going to be your witty roast masters paired off with things like impact tremors and other things that care about creatures coming into play, and then the creatures themselves do a relevant enter the battlefield effect of some kind, something like Mog War Marshal, who makes you a token, or Viashana Pyromancer that deals damage to any target when it comes in. And then all of these tiny little friends jump onto our boy Calamity, who Calamity in and of itself is a 4 and double red horse mount with haste that when it's saddled, you choose a non-legendary creature that's saddled this turn and create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of it, and you sacrifice the token at the beginning of the next end step and repeat this process once. So, you're not going to do like a crazy high amount of like oversaddling, like at least up to 2. But if you have that be, again, like the Bog War Marshal and the Viashana Pyromancer, it's just
totally
same thing. So just like you get down all your little friends that care about as other permanents or creatures or whatever enter the battlefield, and then all those friends hop onto Calamity. Calamity goes in, and you can kind of play this weird mono red blink enter the battlefield. You can like when you can capitalize on things being their enters triggers, like before Calamity comes in. We could be playing stuff like Conjurer's Closet and things like that, and
we're mono red blink. This is stupid.
Mono red blink, other other red cards that give you one turn copy effects like what Calamity does. Red has a ton of those, and other sorceries and other creatures that generate you
Yeah.
tokens for like a one-time thing or
Kiki
whatever.
Jiki. Like,
Kiki. Yeah,
this
exactly.
is like a weird Kiki Jiki deck.
Kiki might be a little too strong for exhibition, but
Not a
like,
game changer. I would totally allow Kiki Jiki in this deck if the theme is I'm making copies of like Impulsive Pilferer so that it dies and makes treasures. I'm like, I'm there, baby. Take me there.
all
Slam
right,
Kiki
I guess.
Jiki in that deck.
All right, this is going to be our comment engagement because I hard disagree with you.
Oh, interesting.
Kiki Jiki's one of those you gotta kill it on sight, regardless if you know your opponent is playing a combo piece in there or not. Because just like
Fair.
somebody will feel like that's way too strong. So no, I'm hard against you. No Kiki Jiki and something
All
like
right.
this.
Which brother's correct here? Let us know in the comments.
And then what did you have in mind from our friend on here, Fish, who has he had previously had this deck built back at one point, but go over the theme for Wick.
Yeah. So Fish brought up, again, at Fish on our Discord, brought up Wick the World Mind, which is a rat kindred commander. It's Grixis colors and cares about sacrificing things, cares about discarding things. And the whole point of it is to play a bunch of rats. So in my mind, the linchpin of this deck is Pack Rat, which makes extra rats, discards things, and God, I love Pack Rat so much. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, Pack Rat, objectively, bad card in Commander, but if you can find some way to theme your deck around, like, my whole goal is get out Pack Rat, and I'm gonna make a bunch of Pack Rats, and then kill you guys with Pack Rats. That is bracket one. This is what I mean. Going back to the Kiki-Jiki thing, bracket one does not mean not powerful. It just means that it's doing something interesting. It's exhibiting. It's an exhibition of some interesting strategy. It's a showcase deck. So like, if your favorite card is Pack Rat and you're playing a Wick the World Mind deck to showcase Pack Rat, I'm like, get in here, dude. Sit down at my bracket one table and play it against me. I'm going to throw Wilson and one of his pairs. You're going to be doing roller coasters. Like, this is what Commander is about, dude. I'm going to be playing my Universes Beyond only deck. No original Magic IP allowed.
Oh yeah. You know what? We theorized that not too terribly long ago. Like I think when the very first card version for Loot came out, I think I made that joke of like, oh, he's the key to everything. So let's just make an oops, he's the key to the entire universe deck.
Yeah. Turns out the Omen paths lead to Doctor Who. They lead to Spider-Man.
They lead to Avatar.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. Nice. I can't wait for Avatar. Oh, we're divulging away, but that is basically it. This has kind of been us giving a case for tier one. I recommend you try it. Just go into a deck build going, I'm going to build this bracket. I'm going to build this bracket one and see what happens. You're just going to find some really cool strategies and some really interesting things. I really want to throw together a bracket one Thought Clash soon, so be on the lookout for that. That'll be probably our next Thought Clash. Yeah, again, let us know in the comments if you want to hear about any more of these bracket one decks. I want to hear what you guys are building out there, out in the comments land, with your bracket one decks. What's the weirdest thing that you're doing in Commander 2025? Let's get weird. Let's get bracket one. Bring back weird Commander decks. That's what I'm looking for. John, any parting notes before we take off for this episode?
Yep, we're certainly going to be on brand for the weird Commander, with how full we've got as far as like the strange and out there Magic sets plus the Universe Beyond stuff we have coming. This is the time to start doing your crazy stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just, you can either dig your heels in and go like, no, I'm not a fan of this, or you can just embrace it. You just go, you know what? This is weird. Life is weird. Magic's a weird game. I think that's my parting thoughts here. Magic is a weird game. Get weird with it. Get bracket one.
All glory to the bucket one.
Absolutely. I love that you will forever call them buckets.
It is.
You know what? Okay. We should go back and review when we started talking about Power System like a year and a half ago and see how close we were to the brackets. I haven't done this yet.
Ooh. Very interesting.
We'll do a Redux episode.
Maybe,
Well,
but
this has been quite a fun outro for the episode. To the listeners, thank you so much for watching or listening on YouTube and on Spotify. Huge shout out to everyone who's giving us likes, comments, subscribes, and joining our Discord. We love you guys. We'll see you around. We'll be playing some games with you. Anything else, John? What else have we got going on? If you guys want to reach out to us, if you want to get even beyond the comments and beyond the Discord, you can get in touch with us on Blue Sky, either at MTG Thoughtcast on Blue Sky, or at either Joseph Thoughtcast or at John Thoughtcast on Blue Sky. You can email us at mtgthoughtcast@gmail.com. One of these days, I'm gonna get an email and it's gonna make my day. So if you've made it this far, send me an email and I will respond to it. All right, guys, this has been the MTG Thoughtcast. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.